Let me ask you something most men never hear past 60. What if the one thing you've been told to hide, to feel ashamed of, is actually the very thing that could reignite your energy, lift your mood, and protect your health? Yeah, I'm talking about something real, raw, and incredibly misunderstood: self-pleasure. You've been told to bury it, to pretend like that chapter is closed. But I'm here to tell you the truth. That chapter is not closed, and it may just be the key to rewriting the entire book. My name is Dr. Adrian Cole. I'm a men's health practitioner, and for 3 decades, I've worked with men who've walked into my office with low energy, emotional distance, and that quiet frustration they can't quite name. Men who aren't broken, just misinformed. Men who believe the lie that aging means giving up. This story isn't about shame. It's about reclaiming something powerful, your connection to your own body. And it starts with one surprising truth. Most older men are doing self-pleasure wrong, or worse, not doing it at all. So if you're still with me, if something in your gut is saying, I need to hear this, then stay close. Because what I'm about to share may very well change the way you live the next 10, maybe even 20 years of your life. Let's begin with something subtle, but serious. Mindless habits can silently shut you down. I've had more conversations than I can count that begin with a man whispering something like, I used to enjoy it, but now I just don't feel anything. And when I gently ask them how they go about it, their answers almost always paint the same picture. Quick, mechanical, and disconnected. Here's what's really going on. That routine, those rush habits, are literally training your brain and your body into dysfunction. Imagine doing the same exercise the exact same way, with the exact same muscles every day, while scrolling through overstimulating content. Over time, it stops working. Your body tunes out. The neural pathways start to degrade. This isn't a guess, it's neuroscience. When you repeat the same stimulation pattern without emotional engagement, you desensitize the very pathways that used to bring you joy, confidence, and connection. It's not age, it's conditioning. And here's the brutal part. This pattern doesn't just affect physical performance. It affects the emotional connection you have with yourself and others. Men find themselves feeling numb, withdrawn, even avoiding intimacy. Not because they don't want it, but because their nervous system has stopped knowing how to feel it. But here's what most don't realize. Your body isn't broken. It's just been taught the wrong rhythm. And it can relearn. Yes, even after 60. Let's move deeper. The dangers of total shutdown. Some men think, well, if I'm doing it wrong, I should just stop altogether. But that's not the answer either. In fact, it might be even worse. Let me tell you about a man I once worked with. David. He was 68, strong, proud, and up several times a night to pee. He chalked it up to aging. When I asked him when he last ejaculated, he looked at me like I'd asked about something long buried. It's been years, he said. What David didn't know is this. Your prostate doesn't shut down just because your sex life does. It keeps producing fluid. And when that fluid has nowhere to go, it builds up. That buildup can lead to inflammation, pressure, discomfort, and eventually long-term risks, including a higher chance of disease. I'm not saying abstinence causes illness, but I am saying that consistent, healthy release is part of what keeps your system functioning properly. A Harvard study followed over 30,000 men and found that those who ejaculated 21 times per month had a significantly lower risk of prostate cancer. That's not a myth. That's data. David started small. He didn't chase a feeling. He chased reconnection. And week by week, his symptoms eased, his sleep returned, and more importantly, so did a part of him he thought had gone dormant forever. This is not about lust. It's about care. When shame becomes a slow poison, you might be thinking, okay, maybe I should get back in touch with myself. And then, out of nowhere, the old voices creep in, the ones that say, that's shameful, that's wrong, that's for younger men. Let me tell you something. Shame is not biology. It's a belief system. One you were probably handed decades ago by culture, religion, or family. And that shame, it doesn't just sit in your mind. It gets into your muscles, your hormones, your sleep, your mood, your self-image. Shame raises cortisol. That's your stress hormone. It tightens your body, closes your arteries, lowers your immunity. Over time, it robs you of the very things you're trying to preserve: vitality, resilience, emotional strength. I once worked with a man named Leonard. He was 72, recently divorced, depressed, not on medication, no diagnosis, just numb. He hadn't touched himself in over a decade, not out of choice, but out of grief, out of guilt. out of the belief that desire had an expiration date. Together, we created a new ritual, not a sexual goal, a reconnection habit, a simple, daily practice of presence. Within weeks, his energy shifted, his mood lifted, his blood pressure improved. He stood taller. That's the power of ending silence, of letting yourself feel again, not for performance, but for presence. Let's continue. Testosterone isn't just about age. It's about engagement. Another lie men have been fed. That testosterone just naturally declines with age, and there's nothing you can do. But that's only half the truth. Yes, hormones shift with time. But what accelerates that drop? Disconnection. When you stop engaging with your body as a source of energy, your brain gets the message, he doesn't need this anymore. And it starts turning the dials down. Your drive fades. Your muscle mass drops. Your sleep gets shallow. Your waistline grows. Not because you're old, but because your system thinks the engine is off. But there's a way to tell your body, hey, I'm still here. I worked with a man named Frank, a retired firefighter in his early 70s. His lab showed rock-bottom testosterone, but he had no medical issues, just silence. He'd stopped caring, stopped feeling. We didn't throw him on pills. We gave him a mirror and a few mindful practices. No performance goal, just gentle, daily contact with his own aliveness. In 3 months, his numbers climbed. His posture changed. He laughed again, not because of medication, because he gave his biology a reason to turn back on. This is how it works. Touch, imagination, fantasy, even intention. These are all signals to the brain that desire still matters, that life is still being lived. And yes, studies support it. Sexual stimulation, even solo, can produce short-term boosts in testosterone. More importantly, it tells your system, don't shut down. I still want this. Still with me? Then you're ready for the next truth. And this one might change the way you think about erections forever. Let's talk about something most men avoid because it feels too personal, too loaded with expectations, erections. I want you to forget everything you've been told. This isn't just about sex. It's not even about pleasure. It's about blood flow, vascular health, and the very foundation of your well-being. And here's the truth. Erectile function is a use it or lose it system. You wouldn't stop walking and expect your legs to stay strong. You wouldn't ignore your heart and expect it to stay healthy. So, why do so many men think they can stop engaging with their sexual function and not experience consequences? Disuse is not neutral, it's destructive. Let me introduce you to Harold. He was 69, no partner, no active sex life, and no erections, not in years. Why would I need them? He asked me, genuinely. That part of life is over. But his body had taken that message literally. His blood vessels were stiffening. The smooth muscle tissue in his pelvis had begun to deteriorate. Oxygen flow had slowed. Nitric oxide production, the chemical responsible for engorgement, had nearly flatlined. Harold didn't have erectile dysfunction because of age. He had it because of disuse. The penis is more than a sexual organ. It's a vascular one. And when that network of vessels isn't regularly activated, it starts to shut down. That's not theory. It's biology. And the result isn't just physical. It's psychological. Confidence fades. Motivation drops. You stop feeling like yourself. But here's what Harold learned. You don't need a partner to stay functional. You don't need pressure or expectation. You need activity. You need signal. You need engagement. Reframe self-pleasure as a health practice. This is where everything changes. What if we stopped seeing solo touch as a guilty pleasure and started seeing it as a daily check-in, a moment to circulate blood, to signal vitality, to remind the brain and body, we are still alive here. This isn't about chasing climax. It's about inviting circulation, keeping tissue elastic, supporting endothelial function, the layer of cells that helps blood vessels expand and contract. And it doesn't take much. A few mindful minutes a day, or every other day, not driven by urgency, but guided by care. So now you might be asking, what's getting in the way of that kind of intentional connection? The digital distortion, when porn rewires your brain. Let's talk about pornography, not from a place of judgment, from a place of clarity. The kind of porn available today is not the same as what you may have seen in your 20s or 30s. We're talking about instant hyperstimulating, algorithm-driven content designed to hit your brain like a freight train of dopamine. And for an aging nervous system, that kind of stimulation can be devastating. Here's what happens. Every time you watch high-speed porn, your brain gets flooded with dopamine, But dopamine works on a curve. The more you flood it, the less responsive your brain becomes. That's called desensitization. Soon, real-life touch doesn't feel like enough. Your body starts relying on more intense imagery just to feel something. Arousal becomes mechanical. Connection becomes nearly impossible. And for some men, erections only occur in front of a screen. This isn't weakness. It's wiring. It's your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do. But that also means you can untrain it. I've had patients take 30-day breaks from all visual stimulation. Others scale back slowly, focusing on internal fantasy, sensation, and imagination. Either way, the goal is the same. Reset your nervous system. Remind your body that presence is enough. That silence can be erotic. That touch, without distraction, can be deeply healing. You're not broken. You're retrainable. One of the most powerful things I say to my patients is this: neuroplasticity doesn't expire. Your brain can still change. Your body can still respond, even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. But it requires intention. It requires consistency. And yes, it requires you to turn away from habits that may feel familiar, but are quietly stealing your vitality. One man I work with, Marcus, 66, said it best: "I thought I needed porn to feel something. But once I stopped, I started feeling everything again." He wasn't chasing fantasy. He was rebuilding connection. So if porn has dulled your sensitivity, if erections feel distant, if climax feels out of reach, it's not because you're old. It's because your system needs to be reintroduced to slower, more grounded stimuli. And that brings us to the most overlooked factor of all, the absence of touch. The silent danger, isolation. This is where the story gets personal. Not sexual, human. You see, there's something even more damaging than hormone loss or overstimulation. And that's isolation. Not just living alone, but the kind of isolation where you stop touching. Stop being touched. Stop connecting to your own body. Not by choice, but because you were told it's time to stop. I met a man named Peter, 76, retired engineer, lived alone, polite, smart, kept himself busy, but he hadn't been touched. Not a hug, not a handshake, not even a hand on the shoulder, in over a year. And he didn't even say it with sadness. He said it like it was normal, but it's not. Human beings are wired for touch. Touch reduces blood pressure, lowers cortisol, boosts oxytocin. That's the hormone of trust and connection. When touch disappears, stress rises, sleep worsens, immune function drops, and slowly, the brain begins to shut down parts of itself that are no longer being used. Sensory numbness, emotional dullness, even early cognitive decline. And here's the most tragic part. It often starts with the body. When you stop touching yourself, you're not just avoiding sensation. You're telling your system, there's nothing left to feel. And the system listens. Touch isn't luxury. It's medicine. You don't need a partner to stay engaged. You don't need intercourse to stay alive. You need connection. With yourself. On your terms. That could mean a warm bath with your hands resting on your chest. A morning ritual of massaging your feet. A bedtime practice of placing one hand over your heart and the other on your belly. Just to say, I'm here. It could mean gentle stroking. Not for climax, but for awareness. And yes, it can mean sexual touch. Slow, intentional, exploratory. Not to fix anything, but to rediscover what's still working, what still wants to feel. I've watched men come back to life after years of dormancy. Not because someone else touched them, but because they finally gave themselves permission. Now, if you've come this far, if something in you is nodding quietly, saying this is what I've needed to hear, then get ready. Because in part 3, we're going to go beyond insight and into practice. A simple daily ritual to help you rewire your body, restore sensitivity, and rebuild confidence without pressure or shame. If you've made it here, I want to pause and say something important. You've already done something many men never do. You've stayed. You've listened. You've reflected. And now it's time to take action. Not drastic. Not overwhelming. Just intentional. What I'm going to share with you is something I give to many of my patients who are ready to reconnect with themselves, physically, emotionally, and hormonally. I call it the Golden Protocol. It's not magic. It's not complicated. But it works because it's rooted in biology, rhythm, and presence. The Golden Protocol, 10 minutes a day to change everything. This practice is simple. 10 minutes a day, dedicated to yourself. No phone, no distractions, no expectations. Just you, your breath, your body, and a little willingness to be present. Here's how it works. Step 1. Create a safe space. You don't need candles or music or a fancy setup. You just need privacy. A bedroom, a quiet bathroom, anywhere you can be alone, uninterrupted. Make it a space where you feel safe to relax. Step 2. Breathe first. Start by sitting or lying down comfortably. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6. Do this for a full minute. This slows your nervous system and brings you into your body. Step 3. Hands on skin. Gently place your hands on your chest, your stomach, your thighs, wherever feels natural. The goal here is not arousal. It's awareness. You're saying to your body, I'm here. I'm listening. This may feel strange at first. That's okay. Stay with it. Let the awkwardness pass. Step 4. Explore without pressure. Begin to touch yourself slowly. It can be sexual or it can be neutral. Light stroking, gentle massage, whatever feels natural. There's no goal, no need to finish, no need to perform. This is about exploration. If arousal comes, welcome it. If it doesn't, that's fine. The point is contact, presence, reawakening your sensory system. Step 5. Connect emotionally. At some point, ask yourself silently, how do I feel right now? Not how should I feel? Just what's here. Let whatever comes be okay. You might feel sadness, gratitude, numbness, pleasure, even anger. All of it belongs. The point is not a fix. The point is to connect. Step 6. Close with intention. After 10 minutes, or longer if you choose, place your hand back on your heart and belly. Take one more deep breath. Whisper something kind to yourself. I'm proud of you. I'm here. You're still alive. That's it. Do this daily, or as often as you can. And over time, you'll begin to notice something. Your sensitivity improves. Your sleep deepens. Your confidence returns. You walk a little taller. You feel a little more like yourself. Why this works? You're doing more than touching your skin. You're reconnecting neural pathways. You're circulating blood. You're reminding your brain and your hormones, this system still matters. You're shifting out of the autopilot of shame and into conscious ownership of your body. Remember Marcus, the man who gave up porn and started exploring slowly? Within 3 months, his morning wood came back. He started dating again, not because he needed someone, but because he felt good being himself again. Or Peter, the engineer who hadn't been touched in a year, after beginning a gentle daily ritual of self-massage, his sleep improved. His anxiety lessened. He told me, I feel like I come back online. These are not rare outcomes. They're biological truths. The body wants to heal. The brain wants to feel. All it needs is your participation. The real work isn't performance. It's permission. Most of the suffering I see in older men doesn't come from broken bodies. It comes from broken beliefs. Beliefs like, I'm too old to feel this way. That part of life is over. I shouldn't need this anymore. These are not truths. They are cultural hand-me-downs, and it's time to set them down. Your body, even now, wants to feel. Your brain wants to engage. Your spirit wants to stay alive. You don't need to earn pleasure. You were born for it. You don't need a partner to reclaim vitality. You just need yourself. And you certainly don't need shame. Shame is a thief. It steals your presence. It steals your spark. It convinces you to sit still when your body is begging you to move. What to expect over time. In the first week, you may feel awkward. That's okay. You're learning a new language. By week 2, you may notice you're sleeping more deeply, that your breath is more full, that your mind is a little calmer. By week 3, you may start to feel more sensation. Erections may become more spontaneous. You may find your energy lasts longer into the day. And by week 4 or 5, many men report this one thing. I feel like myself again. Not because they're having more sex, not because they've reversed time, but because they've reconnected to a part of themselves that was never lost, only ignored. You are not too late. Let me say this as clearly as I can. It is never too late to reconnect with your body, to rediscover desire, to feel like a man in the fullest sense of the word, not just strong, but present, warm, alive. You don't need to follow a script. You just need to show up daily, gently, curiously, and if you forget, try again tomorrow. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Final thoughts. You began this journey by listening to a voice you don't always hear. Your own. The one that said, I want to feel better. I want to understand. And now, you know more than most men will ever dare to explore. You know that mindless masturbation can numb you, that avoiding it altogether can harm you, that shame is not harmless, that hormones respond to presence, that erections are health signals, that porn can distort, that isolation can devastate, and that healing begins with a single choice: to care, to touch, to remember. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are not past your prime. You are still here, and your story isn't done. So take this practice. Make it yours. Let it grow. Let it soften you. Let it strengthen you. And most of all, let it remind you that you are still capable of connection, sensation, and a deep, meaningful presence in your own body. Because that, my friend, is where vitality truly lives. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Your story may be the light that helps another man begin his own journey back to himself. And if you're ready for more honest, grounded conversations about men's health after 60, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Until next time, stay present, stay kind, and never stop showing up for yourself.